Nobody is serious on there. Put one in the chat if you've been on dating apps or you've been in the dating realm, dating space, and one of the conclusions you came to was saying nobody is serious out here or specifically on dating apps on there. Okay? Just drop a one in the chat. If that's a statement you've made, a thought you've had, or you know someone who's experienced that. Nobody is serious out here in these dating streets. Nobody is serious on dating apps. Okay? If that's you, let's talk about it. Because what we have to understand is that even though this is a statement that is made, and many people may agree, man, nobody's really serious out here. Nobody's really looking. Nobody's really wanting what I want. Nobody wants nothing serious. We hear all those overgeneralized statements. Okay. If you don't believe me, just go on TikTok and search up dating story times. I'm sure not only are a bunch of story times going to come up, some that will make you laugh, some that'll make you feel frustrated, some that'll make you feel sad, some that are positioned in various different directions. But if there's a common saying that oftentimes many people will say, nobody is really out here moving with faithful. Where are all the yearners at? Where are all the people that commit? Where are all the, and it's crazy because we only make these assumptions based off of the few people we've experienced that went south. Not from everybody, but just from the few people that we've experienced and those experiences that didn't really go out so well. Okay. So the idea that nobody is serious, whether on dating apps or just in dating in general, sounds extremely wise, sounds extremely relatable, but here's the problem. It's dressed in fear. Okay. And anything that is dressed in fear comes from lack, not from abundance. Would you type that in the chat? Anything that comes from fear comes from lack, not from abundance. Now, of course, I'm not going in the direction of legitimate fears that you may experience, for example, seeing a bear in the middle of the road. Okay, don't go that far. But what we're talking about in the context of dating and relationships, the breakups, the rejections, the ghostings, the failings, people who swiped and matched and nothing happened of it, somebody you met in person, you got their number and it didn't fluctuate, you met them at church and now it didn't work out, whatever the case is, anything that is coming from a place of fear is ultimately oftentimes coming from a place of lack, not abundance. And let's actually talk about why this is dressed up as fear and not actual wisdom. Okay. Crazy. Ain't that crazy, Shanae? Man, it's tough, ain't it? All around. Okay. But here's what's interesting. I love what Shanae said in the TikTok comment section. She's like, hey, met a nice Christian guy one time who lived right in my apartment complex. Here's what's crazy. People who will consistently tell themselves that nobody is out there. No one wants anything serious. No one wants anything real. No one wants anything intentional. People who will tell themselves all day, every day that men are trash. There's no good men out. There's no good men left. All the good men are married. All the different things that we'll repeat to ourselves. They wouldn't even put themselves in position to see what you saw. Right? Because when we're talking about just, and I'm not trying to get too deep into some things, but when we're talking about what we see and what we experience in our everyday, okay, like these things are severely impacted by the life and reality that we actually experience. So if you're living in a state, okay, when you talk about your state, just your living being, when we're talking about your state, all right, if you're at a survival paradigm where all you think about is lack, shame, guilt, okay, anger, resentment that's running through your body, okay, from previous experiences that you have not healed, okay, it is not going to be probable that you find someone or look up and see someone that maybe makes sense for you, because all you're focused on is what you're without, what hasn't happened, and what's hurting, which is not a sign that the problem is external. The sign is that we need to turn the mirror on ourselves and reflect inwardly. Okay? So it's just like, fam, you probably wouldn't even see him, okay, on a dating app, all the things, right? You probably would not have seen him if all that we were focused on was how bad things were, how awful men are, and all the things. Of course, I'm not saying that's you, Shanae. But of course, when it comes to the overarching experiences on dating, that's the general consensus. You get on social media and you hear people talk about how bad dating is left and right. Well, of course, no wonder the dates have looked real shallow. No wonder. Because we don't even put ourselves in positions to see the beauty that comes out of these things. We only focus on lack. So when we talk about nobody is serious on there, or nobody is serious out here, all right, and using those terminologies, okay, like I said, it sounds wise. It's really fair. And what happened is you really met someone that was unserious, you met someone that was unqualified, and you met unhealed people. Because here's the thing, we can be honest. I think somebody made a great comment in the first stream that we had that dating apps can present as a low barrier of entry. It's not a whole lot of effort somebody has to put in order to get themselves on a dating app to be seen. Very true. Very true. And even though my response at the time was, hey, like low effort and low energy is everywhere, right? You're not going to be able to escape the low maintenance or the low barrier of entry everywhere you go. But this is the beauty in acknowledging and seeing how low the barrier of entry is the fact that I don't have to abide by the low entry standards. This is why we take the power back by being able to create healthier standards for our lives, because I am the one that's in control of who gets access to me. What you allow is what you give access to, and what you give access to is what you can control. You know what I'm saying? So this is the direction that we have the ability to move in. And this is a very, very serious thing, because as we're slowly breaking this down, we're coming to a crux of what really the problem is. Maybe you already see it. If so, great on you. Stick with me, because this is going to make sense after a while. All right. What you did was you actually met unserious, unqualified, and unhealed people and decided to lump the few with the all. Okay. And here's the real truth, y'all. Okay. Because again, it's not about trying to eliminate the amount of people that you're going to encounter that aren't really healthy. Okay. Like I said before, I think en route of you finding the right person, the right spouse, the right individual, you're going to experience a lengthy of people and relationships that don't necessarily make sense. It's part of the game. Okay. I hate to break the news to you. Part of your dating experience is going to be rejection. Part of you finding somebody that makes sense for you is putting yourself in position to be seen, only for them to say no. Part of the experience is going to be for you to have your capacity challenged and tested. You're not going to get away from it. So the real question isn't necessarily, or the real challenge isn't necessarily, well, how can I avoid rejection? Because I think if you go into the dating scene and the dating experience constantly trying to avoid rejection or limiting the amount of risks, okay, not only do you step into overthinking, but you don't move. You don't move. So instead of trying to control what we can't control, how about we just control how we view it and how we experience it? How about we control how we actually navigate through it and emotionally regulate, so we can get to a place where even if those things happen, we'll still be okay. That's the whole purpose of us going through all of this. Not so that we can change the external, but so that we can actually allow our internal world to challenge and navigate through the external all day, every day. Okay. So the game is not to minimize the rejections. The game is not to minimize the ghostings. The game is not to rid of that. That stuff is going to happen. The game is to build your confidence to recover. So your confidence to recover is greater than your fear of failure. Would you write that down? I feel like I'm giving so much free game in just these last like 20 minutes. It's crazy. Your confidence to recover needs to be greater than your fear of failure. And I'm about to tell you how you get that. Your confidence to recover needs to be greater than your fear of failure. And your confidence to recover is not solely dependent on waiting on God to come and deal with you or with that which you're experiencing. Your confidence to recover oftentimes is going to come with the capacity God has given you already to handle that which you're experiencing. And it's through breathing, it's through regulating, it's actually through taking ownership and not deflecting your issues to everyone else around you. Your confidence to recover has to be greater than your fear of failure. How do we get that, coach? I'm glad you asked. How do we get that? Because it's actually going to be centered on this one statement. Okay? Your confidence to recover becomes greater than your fear of failure, okay, when you recognize that what you've been through before is the worst it possibly can get. You've already been ghosted. You've already been rejected. You've already experienced a breakup. You've already experienced a heartache pain from somebody walking out of your life. And one of the beautiful things about building this sense of confidence is recognizing that you've been through something similar before. You've been through a set of pain and experience something similar before. This is not your first rodeo. This is not your first time. This is not your first heartbreak. This is not your first pain. This is not your first loss. And that doesn't mean that we welcome more of it, but it gives us a great sharp reminder that I got over that then, that God brought us through then, that God healed and recovered us then. And because he was able to do that then, I'm able to step into more of what's available for me now. I went through that rejection. I went through all that. Cool. I regulated. I learned my lessons. I recovered all the things. And now I'm going to put myself in a position to experience something again. Because here's the thing. You're not going to be able to experience the love that everybody's waiting for marriage to have. Everybody loves quoting 1 Corinthians 13. Shout out to Coach Reese in the building. Thank you so much, my guy. Love your content. You've been doing amazing things, man. Appreciate you a ton. Like, everybody is waiting for, oh, I just want to experience that 1 Corinthians 13 kind of love, that Ephesians 5 kind of love for all my believers out there. Let me tell you something. Ain't nobody trying to experience that with you when you don't have the wherewithal to want to experience that for yourself and live up to what God's calling you to be today. You waiting for somebody to fill in a gap in you that you're unwilling to take and play a participant role in building in yourself. You want somebody else to be patient with you, and you're not patient with you. You want somebody else to be patient with you, and you're not patient with others. You want somebody else to be everything that you are not able to be for you. And guess what that creates? Codependency, not co-regulation, not full secure connection. That creates codependency. And when we have codependency, you're not able, you lose yourself in the midst of connecting with that, with those that you're around. That's what you do. You lose yourself. You lose yourself. And codependency, which leads into some form of enmeshment, does not create a satisfying relationship. It creates a relationship where both of you are drained and neither one of you know how to come back to that which is full, to a place of abundance. Neither one of you. So your confidence to recover in a lot of ways is rebuilt when you're able to look back on that which you've experienced and said, man, we got through that though. There was a time in my life where I did not think I was going to get through that. And I got through it. Y'all, there was some rejections and ghostings that I've experienced in my life. I did not think I was going to get through. Boo-hoo crying. Boy, I was folded. I was folded. But one of the things that I kept reminding myself as tears rolled, as values were being reshaped, as I had to start being intentional with gratitude and setting time in my day to experience that which I'm already around and I'm already in, which is full of abundance. I kept reminding myself that something good is going to come out of this. I didn't know what exactly that good was at the time, but I had to remind myself of that. And when I did, things began to shift because I refused to continue to surround myself in a situation where I was harping so much on who left that I wasn't willing to do the work to get myself back. Because truth is, before they left me, I left me. God. Before they left me, I left me. I wasn't willing to stick in alignment with what I already knew, with who I was, with the healing work I had already done. I was willing to give it all and losing myself and my sanity in the process. And it happened through various of different experiences. But y'all, I'm telling you, a lot of this stuff, especially when it comes to dating and dating healthily, whether you're doing it through a dating app or you're meeting people in person, things can shift for you if you're willing to not just stop blaming the external for where you are, but also be able to realize that if you have the confidence to recover, you're not too concerned about when you fall. And that comes through intentional work and healing, alignment. When you stop allowing your emotions and heart to take the wheel, but you allow your thoughts to be where your emotions are filtered through. I don't allow my emotions to tell my thoughts what to think. I allow my thoughts to tell my emotions how to feel. So when there's direction in that space, now it doesn't mean that I'm absent of feeling. It just means that I'm going to course correct my feelings to come back into agreement with that which I believe. In the moment of the rejection, the heartbreak, you probably may have a thought. Man, these girls ain't about nothing. Man, these men are trash. And I'm going to let you have it. I ain't going to shut that down. But how do we come back into an agreement with what we believe when we allow ourselves to feel that, but we don't stay there? Because we know this was just a limited experience. This is not the experience we should expect to have with everybody. Well, coach, how do you deal with that when every experience you've had has been a reflection of the previous? That's a great question. My simple answer, regulate and come back into alignment. Regulate and come back into alignment, because without the piece of alignment, okay, we cannot actually be able to discern that which we're seeing. We just can't. Regulate and come back into alignment, because now if all you've experienced is toxic relationship after toxic relationship, what's the common denominator of that? You. Am I saying you are bringing this upon yourself? Am I saying that you're the problem? Sure. I'm also saying because you recognize that you are playing part of the role of the problem, you also are part of the solution. You are also part of the solution. Because some of you like to carry this bravado like you're doing all the right things and somehow still getting the wrong person. And I highly doubt that. And that isn't to say that you are what you attract. I don't really believe that fully. Okay, this doesn't go into the conversation of you are what you attract. If you have had nothing but toxic people, that means you're toxic. No. If you've ever had a metal detector, this is a conversation that I've had with plenty of clients before. If you've ever had a metal detector or aware of a metal detector, it doesn't just pick up on gold, pennies, money. It also picks up on trash. It also picks up on bottle caps. It also picks up on things that are under the sand and dirt that actually aren't really of value to you because it's not what you're looking for. So when you're healed, you most certainly can attract somebody who is not as healed. That doesn't mean you're not healed. This is what it does mean. I get the leverage to see through all of the jaded, all through the colored lenses. This actually ain't something that's for me. And I'm confident in being able to make that decision because of the healing work and effort it's taken for me to get to where I am and come back into alignment and agreement with what I want, where I am, and who God's calling me to be, and what this relationship really looks like. Am I making sense so far? Put a 1 in the chat if this is making sense so far. Okay? We cannot keep playing this game of blaming the external for things that we are unwilling to acknowledge and address internally. It's not the dating apps that are the issue as we claim them to be. It's unhealed people we're coming across. And on top of that, you yourself may not necessarily be healed. If you're honest, you got on that dating app and you got back on Instagram to shoot your shot, send messages, slide up on stories, and say whatever because you were looking for validation. You were heartbroken over somebody who told you no. And you, instead of sitting with it, because sitting alone with it wasn't what you wanted, wasn't the answer for you, you went and found someone else. You went and found someone else because misery loves company. You went and found someone else and you decided to lean on your attachments as reasons to connect. When really you didn't attach from places of abundance, you attached from wounds. You didn't attach from healthiness, you attached from things that hurt you. You use that person as a product instead of seeing them as the person with intentionality, purpose, direction, value that they have that you could have created the relationship from a lot better. You know what's so interesting about doing this healing work is that eventually you get to a place where when you start doing the healing work, it's going to interrupt a lot of the things that you thought you created from healthiness when you realize it was a bad, poor foundation you started building that mug on. It's a very unique experience. A lot of people love doing this. A lot of people love to say they're doing this work until it causes you to separate from that which you started poorly with. Because when you get some clarity on some things, you realize I actually connected to you not because I was okay with myself, but because I was afraid of myself. So every time that you love me, I get mad because I don't love me the way you love me. Mm-mm. 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 This ain't. I don't think this. I don't think this is the type of conversation. I gotta slow down. I gotta slow down. I hope I'm making sense. Put a one in the chat if I make if this is making sense because this is something that we have to understand if we're really trying to maximize our dating experiences and doing relationships in a healthy way. We have to understand some of these things. It's not the app. It ain't the Facebook, the Instagram. It's you, fam. The meanings you're attributing to it, the behaviors you're attributing to it, and not being curious enough to understand where that's coming from and deal with it and address it as it comes. Okay. So this is a line that I want you to write down because we're still on the problem two, and we're going to speed through the last three that are probably more relatable. All right. But when we're talking about nobody is serious on there, that's not true. Just the people you dealt with that aren't serious. And so the truth is anything that's that now here's what you have to recognize. Anything that's wanted seriously requires considerably more effort and diligence to find and create. Put that in the chat. This is next level conversation. Anything that's wanted seriously requires considerably more effort and diligence to find and create. There's a reason why everybody who said they wanted to go pro didn't go pro. There's a reason why everybody who said they were ready to go play pro football, basketball, and everything in between didn't make it. You're talking to somebody who had a dream and idea of doing that too, didn't make it. Because as levels increased, the seriousness, the development, the work, the effort, the sacrifice grew further because you are not going to be able to maintain a specific level in life trying to continuously recycle old habits. You might have been able to get away with a 30-minute shoot around before school started in high school. But when you get to college and you want some minutes, you're going to have to put in a little bit more effort. Those 30 minutes were really a warm up. You're going to need about 90 minutes or so, and that's generous. That still might be cheating the system. Because what once worked then don't work now. Anything that you want seriously requires more diligence and effort. There's a reason why not everybody is an entrepreneur. There's a reason why not everybody is building their own business. Because if it was easy, everybody do it. Here's the breaking news. Everybody ain't healing like they say they are. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. If it was easy, everybody be doing it. But the hard things require just a little bit more intentionality, diligence, effort. And guess what? Endurance. Finding what you really want, creating that which you really want to build is going to require a little bit more endurance. It's going to take that. It's not going to be something that just falls in front of your face. It's not going to be something that's just going to come knocking on the door. Somebody's going to bump in their way to the hallway. Like, nah, fam. This is going to take intentionality. And what other better way to move intentionally, right, than to actually put yourself in position to be seen and connect with people and not be so afraid of time being wasted, rejections being experienced, someone you don't know ghosting you, causing you to derail the rest of your life, the rest of your relationships, the rest of your summer. We have to realize that the key to dating successfully in any direction is going to be based on the internal world you're creating. And with this internal world is the ability to move in a stronger level of endurance. Because anything that's worth having is worth fighting for. Anything that's worth building is worth fighting for. Okay? So truth is, anything that's wanted seriously requires considerably more effort and diligence to find and create, and that includes your person. So all these thoughts and beliefs that, well, if it's from God, it's supposed to be easy. I don't know who told you that. But you can take that onto seat 32C with them cold peanuts in the back of the plane, because that ain't it. And I that ain't it. That ain't it. I don't know where in the world, if you read your Bible closely from Genesis to Revelation, where you see that. I want my Ruth. I want my Boaz. And that ain't even the point of the book. But here you go. Right? Here you go. So we have to get to a realization, y'all. We have to get to a realization. Anything that is seriously desired is going to take more considerable effort. And you're going to have to put yourself in position. You're going to have to put yourself in position, not just to be seen, but to endure. And endurance does not mean it's all going to be rainbows and everything else, man. Sometimes you're going to come across some duds, but you got to come across some duds in order to find the right one. Imagine being somebody who is a hiring manager getting thousands of applications a day for a role at your job. Do you really believe that all 1,000 of those applicants are valid applicants? No. I'm not saying you got to go through all 1,000, but I am saying a healthy expectation is to come into that room and office and realize that what I was looking for, I'm gonna have to get through a few duds before I find the person that actually makes sense to give a call back. When there's a basketball tryout, a sport tryout, bam. Not everybody at that tryout is gonna hoop. There's gonna be some duds in there. But I gotta have the willingness and the ability to discern what I need for my team. So I know, oh my God, this is so good. So I know who I want to add. Some of y'all are so focused on everything else but being the right coach for your team. Your team needs you, and here you are, just giving anybody and everybody a pass and a welcome. No, no, no. When we're talking about dating, these are tryouts. These are tryouts, man. We have to vet. It's a tryout. And for some of us, that tryout is the beginning conversation just to see what's here. What's the temperature? And instead of us immediately giving out numbers when I first encounter you or match with you or whatever the case is, hey, let's actually peel it back a little bit. So the conversation's been going a little bit more regularly. I'm noticing I'm a little excited to respond to your messages. So you know what? Here's my number. Let's actually do a FaceTime. We're not going to go on a physical date yet, but let's do a FaceTime. Vetting. Because anything that you vet takes time. And there's some things, the more that you grow in vetting, the more quicker you're going to realize somebody don't match with you. Somebody really don't align with you. It don't really make sense. I can see it from a mile away that this ain't something I really want to invest in. It don't take months. It don't take years to make a decision. Sometimes it just take a moment. I see where this is going. We have to be able to build the muscle of discerning and vetting that which we see. And a lot of us aren't there yet. A lot of us don't want to be there because we would rather God make all the decisions. And that's why you still single, praying in your prayer closet and ain't found nobody, because you don't go nowhere and because you want God to do it all. How's that work? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. How does that work? How does that work? I'm here for it all. All right.
Hey you, so glad that you made it to the end of the video. Okay, if you want to know more of the context behind what was shared in this video, be sure to click here, okay, because that's going to be actually the stream replay as part of our recent series or conversation that we shared live with our audience. Be sure to check those out. We go live weekly across all platforms. And also, if you want to know the deeper meaning behind all that was shared and really the biggest goal of getting you to a place of security, to let go of anxious attachment, but more importantly, to learn why you keep losing yourself in the midst of relationships, because it's a lot simpler than you think. It's going to be explained in one video to get you the results you need right then and there. Explains everything. Be sure to click here, okay, for this video. All right, and I hope to see you over there. Peace.